This is what we call the weekend ruiner. It destroys your weekend. It makes you sad. It makes you cranky. See, multiplying fractions is great because multiplication is, I think I've probably talked to you about this before, it's not as racist or prejudiced as adding and subtracting. You can multiply pretty much anything you want to together. Multiplication loves everybody. Addition and subtraction doesn't, though. In order to add and subtract, in order to add or subtract fractions, you must have common, or we may say like, denominators. If you're going to add or subtract fractions, you must have common denominators. This is just like what we talked about before with like terms. You can add and subtract like terms, but they have to be alike. If we were multiplying, did it matter? No. Addition and subtraction, it does matter. And the reason we want to have like denominators is because we want to make sure that we are comparing the same thing, the same size, right? So here's what we need to know. If I have a over c plus b over c, if we have the exact same denominators and you're adding, you add the numerators, but you keep the denominator. Remember the meaning of the denominator. If you lose the meaning of the denominator, then you lose the whole concept of fractions. The denominator tells you how many equal parts makes up a whole unit, right? So if I say that I have 4 out of 9 parts, and I'm adding to that 1 out of 9 parts, then out of 9 parts, how many do I have? You've got 4 plus 1, so that gives you 5, right? Do you all agree with that? I've got 4 out of 9 plus 1 out of 9. That gives me 5 parts out of 9 to make up a whole unit. That's what that means. Do you agree? Now, we can do it with addition, but the same thing works out if you have subtraction. If I have a over c minus b over c, anything that's of this form, well, then you just subtract those numerators while keeping the same denominator. Okay? If I have 12 out of 11 parts, and I lose 4 of those parts, well, what do I have? I have 12 minus 4 out of 11 parts, which is just 8 over 11. I keep the denominator exactly the same. And see, I can compare these guys because they have the same denominator. Okay? If you're dealing with something where 11 parts makes a whole unit, and somebody else is dealing with a contraption that 11 parts makes a whole unit, then you can compare those guys because we've got equal weights, equal denominators. And so you just worry about doing what's in the numerator. Remember, addition and subtraction are the only things that require like denominators. If I were to give you this, I have 7/10 minus 3/10. Do you have the same denominator? Yes, then you can instantly go to a fraction with that same denominator, which is 10. What's the numerator? 7 minus 3 is 4. Am I done with this? Can I just box this and move on? Why not? It needs to be reduced. This is not in lowest terms. How do I get it to be in lowest terms? Reduced by the common factor of 2, you get 2 over 5. Do you all agree with that? Okay. If I have 5 over x plus 7 over x. Do these guys have the same denominator? What's the common denominator? And what's the numerator going to be? 12. Can I reduce 12 over x? No, x is a variable. You don't know what it represents. So as a factor, it's just x. So there's nothing in common here. Does everybody agree with this so far? You're still going to be able to have fun this weekend? So when you're going to the bar, take a napkin, start doing fractions. People will start to gather around you going, what are you doing? Say, I'm doing math. I'm doing fractions. And like, oh, I hate fractions. You say, no, 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 no. Stick with me, babe. I'll take away your fear. It doesn't really matter all the things that you hear. I just need you to stay near. I'll teach you fractions and all will be clear. What? I know what you're thinking, man, this guy's totally awesome. I'd really like to go to a bar with this guy. We can toast over a couple of root beers, right? What about this one? Do they have a common denominator? Yes, which is 15. Do they have a... so what do you do with the numerator? You add these guys and what do you get? What's 15 over 15? 1. And so help me, if you say 1 over 1 and you leave it that way, you will make me very angry. Questions about this? What's 1 over 1? 1. Well, now reducing that is as ridiculous as me saying, dude, how old are you? Oh, I'm 20 over 1 years old. Reduce your fraction, man.